Hi everyone, I'm Lauren and welcome back to my channel. This is Light in Lavender, where we talk about all things books and my own writing journey, and today I'm actually going through my writing journey a little bit. So this is something that I've wanted to do for a while. It's kind of going to be an introduction to what I hope is going to be a book-long series of mine, but I am going to go through and take you through the step-by-step process that I have taken with Project Witch, from getting it from an idea all the way to it being published, because my first draft is finally done. So I can't go through how I came up with the idea and initially drafted it, because I've already done that. That was 2 years ago. It's taken me 2 years to write this first draft because I don't outline, and when I do outline it goes horribly wrong. So what my plan is to go through the stages that I have taken, the changes that I've made, and I'm also going to be going into my plot. So if you want to read this book at some point, maybe this is not the best series for you, but if you are interested in the more craft side of things, then this will hopefully be the perfect series for you. I feel like there's going to be a lot of anger from myself later on in the series with just doing the editing and rewriting. I guess anger's not the word, more just like annoyance of how I've written this first draft and the changes that I'm going to need to make and the places that I'm going to have to update, because I know for a fact that there's so many plot points that I thought of towards the ending of writing this book that I now need to fit in somewhere earlier on, so it doesn't come out like do a 180 completely change how some characters are. So what I've got with me today is my notebook. It says European History First Year Uni. I'm writing notes on the front of it because the first part of this notebook is actually my European History module from university, which is now 12 years ago since I took this course, but I never finished writing in here. So what I did was use part of the end of this to do some writing notes, and Project Witch was first initialized in here. So this page is just my two characters pages. So originally this was going to be a romance. I don't know why I decided to write a romance. Actually I do. I've been using an app called Dream to read on for 2 years, and whilst I was reading on there I thought, hey, I really enjoy these romance stories that I'm reading. Why don't I try and write something to put on there? And then I realised I really didn't want to write something to put on there because I don't know, I just felt like the idea wasn't solid enough for me to start just chucking things on there, and I quickly moved away from that. But part of the story, well, the original story is on there, but some of that has already been scrapped from where my first draft is. That is one of the main reasons it's taken so long to do this first draft, is that I started writing this, I think it was towards the end of April 2020, and between April and June I was writing, trying to get a chapter up and doing a chapter a day uploaded on there. I think it was in June I started doing that. I think I got to 13 chapters on there. Decided I didn't like where the story was going, completely stopped, but I have not pulled the story from that site yet, so some of it is there and I probably do need to remove it at some point, but yeah, I can't remember what I called it. But the original point of the story was to have a romance between two opposing sides, kind of like Romeo and Juliet, I realised after I'd written 30,000 words. My main character, Viola Everett, is a witch, and she falls in love with a witch hunter named David Richardson. Or at least that was the original plan. He is no longer a witch hunter, he is the son of a witch hunter, and I think he may also be a secret witch. But I've not actually delved into that storyline at all. That's just an idea that I've had sitting around for a couple of months to try and add a little extra tension and explain some of the earlier plot points that I had put into place. Because this was supposed to be a romance, I included sort of soulmate style things in part of the writing, which I kind of like still. I like the elements of it, but I'm not entirely sure if that is where I want to go with it or if I need to do something else with these elements. But I don't know if David is a witch or not, potentially. Whilst I stopped giving all the spoilers for my book, this has got sort of rough notes in there, so I tried to split this into a 3-act structure. So I've done Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 outline of just an overarching view. So it was they meet, there's initial resistance. Act 2 is the relationship's going fine, and then something happens which causes the relationship dynamic to split, and it kind of had some of the, it wasn't really lack of communication, but she does just completely cut contact with him and is no, I don't want to spend time with you. And then in Act 3 David sort of like realizes that his family's not as important and tries to help her, but then there's gonna be like some sort of fight, conflict. I don't think he even wrote that. Yeah, I didn't actually even write that in here. It just says like David confronts his family to understand the reason for their hunting and argues for them to see the light, i.e. good versus bad witches, able to convince his family to defend rather than attack. Viola sees what he's doing and they live happily ever after was like my really rundown version. But that didn't actually end up how the story is ending, and I don't think that vision of the story lasted much longer than me writing that, to be honest, because David's dad never changes. He's just like the archetype, stuck in his ways, not going to change, and he doesn't want to change. He thinks witches are bad, he's trying to get rid of them all, and Viola ends up killing him because that's the only way to stop his brand of, I don't want to say religious, but like it's that sort of zeal of he needs to do this, he needs to get rid of the witches, they're all bad, and he even tries to kill his son in the efforts of doing that. So yeah, it was a very strange turn from what I originally wrote down. I also put in about like the magic system, so it's like an energy pool inside of people because I didn't want to use it as like traditional witches with spells. I don't know why actually. They kind of do have spells and the energy can't do everything. It's not like, oh, you can just make changes, but it is a lot more in depth than that. And then these are just notes from actually when I've started writing. So I've got quite a bit of notes from just writing and going, no, I need to go back and change this, I need to add in some extra bits. And then I started reading with Save the Cat, so I've got like a Viola's verb is help. So like she wants to help people. She's not just a witch, she's also a nurse in the local children's hospital because she wants to help, but she didn't want to make her magic use of that everyone knows what she's doing, so she's trying to do it like on the down low and helping where she can. But that's sort of like the key theme within Viola's personality. She's always trying to help, she's trying to do what's right for everyone, she's not always thinking about what's right for herself. I was trying to get that sort of like major character flaw in there. I think that I have managed to do that a little bit. I don't know if I've done it that well, but I think you can see that Viola's trying to help and that her sort of like main focus is on what's right for the coven and what's right for the people she lives with rather than just what she wants to do with herself. And part of her change is to accept that she can't do everything on her own. She is not the only person who is capable, and it's that strange sort of dynamic because her dad actually sacrificed himself 20 years ago, so Viola is 25. When she was 5 years old, her dad sacrificed himself to create a protection spell over the coven so that no witch hunters can find them. Unfortunately, there was a time limit on that, and the protection spell is slowly waning off, which is why Viola now has this like massive drive to protect and do what she can to keep this coven safe. But again, because of her upbringing, the fact that she's always seen as Alex's daughter, you can see the effects that this has had on her psyche, and that's what I tried to delve into more, like how the shaping of the world has shaped her. But yeah, I think it probably needs a lot of fine-tuning when I print this copy out and reread it. So I look forward to that vlog. But it did take me quite a while. To like decide on things. So someone steals Alex's notebooks, maybe Amy's character is now changed, the notebooks don't get stolen. I actually completely forgot I'd made that note, but this is part of it. So like, why does Amy not like Viola? Sometimes people don't like each other, but you always need a reason in a story. So I'd created sort of like an antagonistic coven character, and it turns out that the issue that I've created there, the conflict, is that the adults pretty much spoke badly about Viola because she was good at magic and she didn't want to stop practicing, because as a child and she already knew, it's more difficult sometimes. But also because she's using her magic to help people in the hospital, they don't like that either because they're trying to keep on the down low. They've got this protection spell to stop the witch hunters from finding them, but there's only so much that can be done with that. William and Amy need bigger roles within the story. This has now become a triumvirate sort of view. Apparently I can only write books where there's 3 main characters and they like all work together, because that's what I've done with every single story I've wrote so far. I need to maybe change that a little bit. I was gonna have at one point her dad not actually having sacrificed himself for this protection spell, so I put no fake out death for dad, so I was gonna have him so that he was actually alive, and David's dad had captured him and was using him for evil, and then I changed it so that Matthew had killed him, and now I've changed it back where the dad has died but he had to sacrifice himself for the spell to work, which is sort of like the final point of the spell that Viola, William and Casey, not Amy, have to put in place to keep the coven safe. And coming to that realization was, I feel like now it makes so much sense that yeah, to keep everyone safe you'd need to make a big sacrifice for that, but I think that it just didn't seem to hit for so long that that's what would need to be done to keep the coven going. I like this note in particular that I've put. So, is the romance central to the story or is it becoming a subplot? This was when I realised that the book I was writing was no longer romance. It was originally categorised as paranormal romance, and then I put it into urban fantasy, and then I had people go missing, so now I'm not sure if it slightly classes as paranormal supernatural suspense. But those are my options. I need to do some comp reading to fully understand, but at the moment it's sort of like urban fantasy / supernatural suspense, just from the way that the story is rolled out. I think I need to go into some areas a lot more, because at the moment it's very much like just base skeleton bones of everything that's going in there. I think there's about 47,000 words at this first draft, and so there's still a lot to go. I mean, it is novel length, but I feel like there's so much that can be fleshed out. The characters don't have enough screen time. They're not getting that sort of time that they need to fully develop on the page. I think a lot of it, because it's in my head and I know what's going on, I've not put it out there. So when I do my rereading, that's what I already know that these are things that I need to look out for and see, but I would like to also go through at some point and do like a comparison to what I've changed. I think I've already pulled 10,000 words from the story. So when I originally wrote this for the dream app that I put it on, I wrote so much and then I pulled a lot of it out because I didn't like it. I changed the point of view, so originally it was going to be split between Viola and David, and then I've changed it to just Viola's point of view. It's in third person limited at the moment. I'm not sure if that's the right point of view for this story, but it's working at the moment. I am finding it difficult to use the pronouns though, because I've got two main female characters, so it's difficult to be like her, she, when it's both of them in the same sentence and in the same paragraph. So it's been interesting having to go through that, but I did have to pull quite a lot of David's chapters out. There's somewhere I've been able to rework them and change them from David's point of view across to Viola's point of view, but I have missed out on some of David's thoughts. I really enjoyed those, so what I might potentially do is, when this book is ready to release, might chuck David's chapters together that I wrote, sort of like edit them and get them sorted and chuck it out as a reader magnet so that you can read David's point of view from certain angles of the story. I had to work some changes in here. So originally I wrote this as sort of like a billionaire romance, and David was actually like a really famous actor, but I had to change that because it didn't really work with the story. So now he's a rich businessman, but he's been on sort of like Undercover Boss, Dragon's Den style reality TV. I know there's a part in the chapter where I mention it, where I've put like a big paragraph of like, this is the sort of thing that he's doing. I just need to come up with a name for the TV show, because I think it was such an interesting point of view to have someone who was kind of in the public eye but not fully, and that's also part of Matthew's, David's dad's, character arc of the reason why he doesn't like his son so much, because his son shunned the family business of witch hunting to become a businessman, and now he's on TV and he's like, you're a disgrace to the family, dishonor on you. And I just kind of liked that element of putting it in there, but I did question where David was going in this, like David's path in the story. What is his conflict? What is his reason for being there? Because every character needs a character arc, and he was very 2D for quite a lot of it. I also had to try and come up with a symbol, and so the symbol was left with one of the kidnapped girls' bodies, and I wanted something that would like denote, oh god, it's the witch hunters, without like using words for it, but I'm not very good at designing things, so that is probably something I'm gonna have to deal with at another point. And then this is just again me doing some reading and revising. So like there was a chapter that I really kind of liked the idea of, but it was also like really naff. So I pulled the main idea from there. Originally I had just like everyone running around madly in the hospital for no reason, and then I kind of like changed it so it's more of a amnesia style thing that's been placed on there. But yeah, there's a lot of notes on here about what I'd done whilst I was reading through it. And then I get to an actual sort of outline. So I picked up a copy of Save the Cat Writes a Novel, and I copied the main beat points from there and sort of like put in my ideas. I will leave this here so you can pause it and read what I'd got as original ideas on here, and I'll do that for every page. The next page also has a little treat, so if you want to take a note of it, please feel free to. Like I said, I used this book at university, and the treat is a mock sangria recipe. I think this beat is potentially the worst one that I have planned out because there was not a lot of information in it. And then the final image and some notes that I've made along the way. I did not expect this video to be so long, so I'm going to apologise in advance because this was supposed to be an introduction to this series of me writing a book. So like I said, my first draft is now done. It's about between 45 and 47,000 words. I took a Word document of this just before I finished it, and it was on 205 A4 pages. I don't know how many it is on now. I need to tweak that because I want to print it out, but obviously I don't need to print out like the proper chapter spacings that it's formatted itself in because I've exported from Scrivener to Word. But I am actually really excited to see what size this book will be in like actual book form. I'm expecting this to be around 300 pages of like a normal sized book, so like something this size, maybe a little bit smaller because I think this is maybe bigger than a standard book. But yeah, I'm expecting it to be somewhere around this. It might even be longer, I'm not entirely sure, but I also know that there is a lot of work that needs to be done on the story to get it anywhere ready for any sort of publication or outside reading, which is why this year I decided not to publish anything at all. My focus is totally on writing. I was originally going to do this series on my trilogy that I want to write, but because that one is a lot more, don't want to say important because all my writing is important, but that trilogy means more to me and I don't really want to spoil that out for the world. So yeah, I don't want to do it on that, but I think writing the trilogy would have been interesting, so I'll definitely be doing some videos on how it is to write a trilogy because my outline is terrible. I have no idea how that trilogy ends. I don't even know if they're gonna succeed. I wanted to go through this. I know I've already done some of the process before I started the series, but I didn't know how much I wanted to share with people, and now that I've made the decision that I want to share the full process with this book, I don't mind going through. So if you've got any questions about this, any questions on thoughts, I am gonna try and update my author website, maybe with some stuff from this book, because I've got an outline, and also I can take pictures of the outline that I've done here. So I've done an outline based on chapters and also an outline based on the Save the Cat beats, and they both don't really match to what I've actually written because they don't. I think I'd done it as like 30 chapters and I'm pretty sure this is 32 now. So we just live with it, okay? We just deal with that. But I'm excited to see where this vlog journey goes for these videos, to see how well I'm doing. Hopefully it will be a lot less me just sat talking to the camera and I'll be able to sort of like show examples. I am excited to show the full printed out document that I'm going to end up with to go through and read this, and I am also dreading how long it is going to take to go through and read all of that. But I'm also excited because it means that I'm one step closer to getting this story read by other people. I don't know if I am 100% down with my ending yet. I've been going back and forth on it quite a lot, and I might leave the details for that until I can do like a comparison of what's been written now to what I have got. But if you would like any sort of in-depth analysis of my previous book, Artefact 299, where I show some of the befores and afters with that book, I am more than happy to create a video on that as well. Just leave me a comment to let me know if that is something that you would enjoy. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like, and if you want to see more of my videos, don't forget to hit subscribe. There's a new one out every single week. I hope you're all well and you're all staying safe, and until next time, bye!